it lasted a couple months, and then I fell into sin again and went back to Grindr.
Okay, a quick question for you to start proceedings this week. Have you ever decided that you were going to go celibate and swear off sex and human beings and intimacy and touching and all that yucky stuff before? Well, whether you have or whether you haven't, I have a follow-up question for you. Have you ever promised that you'd go celibate and swear off all the aforementioned intimacy yucky stuff in front of thousands upon thousands of evangelical Christians? No, I didn't think so. Me either, to be honest. But, yeah, this week's guest might have done something like that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I will let him give you the gory details about that story. Let me introduce sex and intimacy coach, porn star, and podcast host, Alex Ray. But don't worry, because the celibacy didn't stick. Well, that's a spoiler. I probably shouldn't have told you that. But, I know you come here for some of the sordid stories, so I need to reassure you that they're coming up. Alex and I caught up to talk about the Washington, D.C. lost space town and what it felt like to have access to that space when he was a confused baby gay trying to figure out who he was or who he was going to be. My name's Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that is all about lost queer spaces and the memories that they've left behind. Why don't we get into it?
I grew up in Maryland, in Annapolis. So Annapolis is not very far from DC, although the people in DC think it's very far away. It's kind of like LA and San Diego.
Oh.
We're like...
Oh, okay. So if we were in a bar in DC and you introduced yourself and I was like a DC snob and you told me that you were from Annapolis, how would I respond?
Something like, oh, that's cute. I've never been there, but I've heard about it.
Oh, okay. And then like a pat on the head and send you on your way.
Something like that. You already know the vibe.
Well, okay. So then growing up in Annapolis, what did DC mean to you?
It was like the big nearby city, that and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those cities were places that I visited, a couple times a year with my parents growing up to go to the museums or like sightseeing. Washington, D.C., of course, for years had, I know it's kind of a shit show right now because of who in the White House, but this season of torture.
Wait. It's like 5 minutes and it's come up already.
I live in the U.S., so half of my brain is always occupied / attacked by this shithead. But before this year, there were all these amazing Smithsonian museums throughout D.C. that were all free to go to. And so I grew up pretty poor. My parents, to get by, just constantly refinanced our house. That's how we were able to afford groceries and stuff. So, anything that was free and educational for kids was great. So we went to DC a few times a year. And then I also worked there at a tech company.
But okay, so give me, actually, let's not talk about DC. Let's talk about Annapolis for a minute.
Okay.
It's smaller than DC, but you're going to have to hold my hand whilst I learn about this. Okay. So how big is it? Is it a small town? Is it a small city? Is it?
It's a small city. Yeah. It's developed. It's very developed, but it's
What does that mean? It has roads.
Yeah, I mean, like, have you been to the US before?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you know how there are parts of the US just that have almost no population at all. And it's like,
Okay.
you know, you're driving through the woods and then, oh, there's a house. No, it's not like that at all. It's it's densely populated.
And more than one set of traffic lights.
Many, many, many traffic lights. Yes.
Okay. But then, okay, how does it feel when you're there? Do you feel free to be yourself, or do you feel stifled and suffocated? Or somewhere in between? I'm just giving you two options there, sorry.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between, but closer to the stifled and suffocated side, partially due to the culture of Annapolis, but also because I grew up really religious and in an evangelical Christian family. So I was extremely well networked and like well known in Annapolis and through the church circles. And I even did like an interview with one of the pastors at a mega church that I went to there. And so like this video of us was displayed for everyone to see at 3 different services with thousands of members watching this. And like, I still can't go to Annapolis and like go out in public without at least one person recognizing me. And my friends tease me for it because it's so funny when we go out. But yeah, I'm like a micro celebrity there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But okay. So then, you know what my follow-up questions are going to be then. You're growing up in the church, which probably isn't like, yay, homosexuals.
No, it was not.
What does that look like for you? Like, how old were you when you were like, something's wrong here and I might need to figure out how to run away?
Yeah.
And how did you navigate that?
I know that 10 was the age in which I started realizing I was attracted to men. But a year or two prior to that was the first time that I had kind of been introduced to the idea of homosexuality. And it was through a lesbian that was attending our church. My parents like warned me about her and felt like they had to give this explanation of, you know, she dates women, but she's working on it. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, oh, cool. But like, why is it so shamed or what's wrong with it? I don't really understand. And then we did like a church retreat thing, and she was one of the nicest adults there, and she made a big impact on me. And I still think about her every now and then because she was the first queer person that I really had a direct relationship to, and she was so kind to me. Of all the adults, she was the one that gave me the most attention, which felt really good as a kid to be given attention, particularly positive attention from an adult. Most of what I was used to was just punishment from adults. So,
well, do you think that she was like, this kid's gay, I better look after him?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah. She might
Anyway,
have.
sorry, you were telling me. So that was your first instance of being exposed to the homosexual agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. And then hearing that like there was something wrong with her, I remember thinking, well, what if that was me? What if I liked men? What and that I think planted a seed of fear in that if I was that way, then I would be treated like she was being treated. And lo and behold, a year or two later is when I started realizing, oh fuck, I am like her.
So you manifested.
Right? The Christians are gonna, if a Christian ever listened to this, they'd be like, see, look, she turned him gay. I don't even want to argue with them because they're too stupid for reason. That is absolutely not what happened. But
also, like, why would she bother turning a man gay? Like,
exactly.
She'd be after the girls if she was going to do that.
Exactly.
Like, let's be sensible here.
But, you know, we don't deal with reason in religion. Reason is not a thing.
Okay. So you get to 10 and you're like, oops, shit.
Oops. I really like looking at these underwear models in the Kohl's ad that arrives in the mail.
But so then what do you do with that news? Like, what do you do with that information? Do you just like, oh, I'll just push that down, or just get the catalogs as soon as they come through the door slot?
I would be in charge of like taking out the recycling. We all had like, you know, chores as kids. And so I would take my sweet time taking out that recycling and dumping it in the bin and like flipping through the Kohl's catalog to look at the pictures of men in their underwear.
And the rubbish collectors would come and say, listen, you can't put liquids in this bin.
It's exactly it. Heck, I mean, I was too young to even know how to masturbate. I was probably 12 or 13, and I didn't learn to masturbate until like maybe 15. So
learn.
Figure it out, I guess, is more accurate.
Okay.
No one taught me.
So no one taught you. Okay, good.
No. I just like started rubbing my dick on stuff, and I was like, wow, this feels really good. And then like snot came out, and I was really freaked out.
Oh, wow. So you didn't know to expect that?
No, I had no clue. The first times I ever ejaculated were wet dreams. I had like 4 wet dreams before I ever learned what masturbation was. Well, figured out what masturbation was is really what it was.
And so when you had these wet dreams, did you like...
I had no clue what it was. I was freaked out.
But did you tell anyone? Did you like say, oh, I better find out about this?
After the second or third time, I told my dad, and I was like, I don't know what happened, but when I woke up, like, you know, there was weird snot in my underwear, and I'm not sure what happened. And he goes, he said to me something along the lines of like, well, do you remember what you were dreaming about? And of course I vividly remember like seeing a naked man in my dreams. I think my dream was about like straight sex, but I was just watching the man and fascinated with his dick. And then like, you know, I woke up and I'm like, oh God, what the hell is this? So anyway, my dad tells me this and I'm going, wait, I can't tell my dad what I was dreaming about because then I'm going to expose myself as gay. So how do I get out of this? And I was like, no, I don't remember at all. No. And so he explained to me that
convincing.
He explained to me what the snot substance was. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that time, I think I had like the basic talk, which consisted of like, a man will look at a woman, his penis will become hard because he's looking at a naked woman, and then he will put his hard penis into her vulva, and then sperms come out, and then they find an egg, and then baby months later. Like, that was the conversation. That's all I knew.
Okay. Well, okay, wait, hang on. We were talking about you figuring out. We just keep going off topic. So you figured out at 10, and you were in this evangelical Christian church. Yeah. What do you do with that information when you realize that you might be gay? Do you talk to anyone? No. Do you do some vast research in the local library? Do you just push it down and hope no one notices?
A blend of all of those. Primarily, I was trying to hide it. In high school, I started researching, you know, what would happen if I came out. I was trying to understand from other people's stories who were Christian, what was going to happen. Was I going to be kicked out? What did I need to do to prepare for coming out? So, you know, I was planning ahead of time. I was researching. I was hiding it. And then I told my first gay friend that I made at like 16, I told him, and he was, of course, not surprised in the slightest. And I told one other person that I knew through a Bible study, and I only told him because he had said something about how his brother was gay, and he was not judgmental towards his brother, and so I was like, okay, he's a safe person. But yeah, those are the only people that knew until many people knew. They were the only people that I knew. That you
confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until when?
I came out at 19.
Okay.
And I did not get kicked out of the house. That was good. But I had like made plans for where I could move to and everything. And then it was a coming out to like a few of the closest people to me. I talked to my grandmother and stuff too. She's not religious. She hates religion. And she was like, oh, honey, I've known since you were like 8 years old. I don't care. Can we get lunch now? Things like that were really reassuring. And then I had a couple of friends that I came out to, but it really wasn't a big deal, as big of a deal as I thought it was. In hindsight, like, so many people already knew and already accepted me. But by then I also didn't have many church friends anymore. So that helped.
Ah, okay. Because that was going to be my follow-up question, because like I don't think the church would be like, yay, brilliant.
Yeah, they
Let's
weren't.
play I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross.
Yeah.
But you'd kind of moved away from the church by this stage.
My friend circle had moved away from the church, but I was still very much going to church and still religious. And of course...
and appearing on the Jumbotron interviewing the head pastor.
Well, that was right after it came out. It was like less than a year afterwards when marriage equality passed in the U.S. The church was trying to figure out how they, one, make an official stance on this, and two, how do they like tell everyone what the church's official opinion is on gay marriage. And their stance ended up being that they still think it's a sin. They would not perform a gay marriage, but they also know that it's not a choice. It's like a sin that you are sort of born with. And the only way to like the thing that's pleasing to God would be to be single and celibate for Jesus.
But which is, so then what was the interview that you did? Was it?
Oh, it was me vowing to be like single and celibate. Yeah.
What? And is there video? Like, is this on YouTube?
Yes,
or something?
I think it's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube.
But oh my goodness. So you were like, oh yes, I'm not going to like go the way of those other filthy heathens. I'm going to stay at home and lock myself up.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I really liked to hear "Good Boy," and I really wanted to live up to other people's expectations. It was so much more important than being myself at that time.
Yeah, okay. So you said all this in a video that's going to live on forever, well beyond you. But
Yep.
Did you actually believe it?
At the time, I did. I think I was relying heavily on the people around me that kept telling me, we're going to be there for you. You can do this. We're going to be there for you. And it lasted a couple months. And then I fell into sin again and went back to Grindr. And I went in this cycle of
right back to Grindr.
Yeah.
So you had already been like bumping nasties. I don't know why I used that phrase.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this isn't from a place of naivety, like I've never experienced the pleasures of the skin, and so therefore I quite happily say I'm never going to go that route.
Right.
It's having experienced it and then saying, no, that's not the life for me.
Yeah. I had a boyfriend for like a month or two before I came out. Your face.
I just, wow.
Yeah.
But so I'm sorry if my ahs are coming across as judgmental.
It's okay. It's funny to like recount all this and remember like, oh yeah, I cannot believe I was like fucking around at 18 and didn't thought I was still in the closet, thought people wouldn't know.
But and so when I'm stuck on this. When you were like saying, I'm giving up sex, I'm going to be celibate, blah, 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 blah. Was there a moment for you where you had that clarity of like, yes, this is the path I want to be on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was also an extreme people pleaser, and it felt good to get the positive reinforcement from the people that I looked up to in the church. I also was deathly afraid of going to hell. And so I basically cycled like a few months of having sex and then a few months of like extreme guilt about it and going, no, Jesus, I dedicate my life to you. I'm going to be single and celibate for you. And then a few months of that would go by, and then I'd be so extremely lonely and just in pain. And then I would go in and I'd date again for a little bit. And then the guilt would hit and I'd go back to being single for a few months. And so it was like a cycle for a couple years. And that video really didn't help because I think we did that video a couple months after my first like boyfriend and I broke up. We only dated for like a couple months. So I think also after a breakup, it feels a little easier to be like, yeah, that sucked. Like, fuck him. I'm just gonna be single. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, I guess. But like, was that also always in the back of your mind? Like, I've made this video and I've made this commitment and thousands upon thousands of people have seen it.
Yeah.
So I better hold up my end of the bargain.
Absolutely. That guilt was constantly in the back of my mind. It's part of the reason that I wanted to move away from the area. I moved away about 10 years later, and for like all 10 of those years, it was when I would see certain people in public that I knew from church, I knew that they had like that image or that hope for me in their head. It felt like this weight. It felt like there were these expectations that I had to live up to for them. And yeah.
Well, you showed them. You showed them.
You know, some of those people are still connected on Facebook, and I have felt like weird about posting on Facebook about like the porn work that I do now. But I don't know, something about this conversation right now is making me go, oh yeah, like what the hell? Why would I still be like concerned about upsetting them? That's so silly. Honestly, they should see how happy I am because all of them were miserable. And they need to get laid a little bit. And I think they'd be a lot happier.
Yeah, that is my motto for life.
Get laid and be happier.
Yeah, like, you know, having a bad day, go get laid. Yeah. Right. So I have a better understanding of this coming out process, but we didn't talk about your parents in amongst all of this. What was their influence on that process and how much you came out or didn't come out or toyed with celibacy or jumped right back on the next boy who showed up on your Grindr feed?
I didn't do the next boy. It was the next boy.
Oh, yeah. Don't shit where you eat, like at least 500 meters away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
In Annapolis, it was more like half a mile away. And then the second one was like 1 mile away. My parents, I knew that they did not approve of gays. And so one time even, I was sort of testing the waters. And so I had this gay friend at 16, and you know, by then I know like, oh my gosh, I've got this part of me that I'm gonna have to either hide forever or whatever, but I wanted to sort of test the water and see what my family's feeling. So my friend had been beat up by his father and his brothers when they found out that he was gay, and then he left his home. And I decided, hey, sharing that story with my parents and my siblings like might be a good way for me to test the waters and see how they feel about it. And unfortunately, they did not have the compassion that I was looking for. Instead, they were like, oh yeah, I would have done the same. And so I was like, okay, got it. My physical safety is at stake if I come out. And that's a big reason why it was like almost 3 years after that before I came out to them.
Have you spoken to them about that conversation since then?
Yeah, they don't remember it.
Oh God, of course. Yeah. That's all the moments where your parents fuck you up, they don't remember.
No,
it happened.
They black out.
Are you sure? Are you sure I said that? Are you sure it was me? Oh no, it was my other mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. But, and then so after coming out, did you then go straight into the celibacy thing? So it kind of nullified the fact you were gay, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no. When I came out, I was dating that first boyfriend, but we broke up like a month later, I think. Maybe 2 months later at the most. Because I do remember he was one of the safety nets that I had. I knew that even though I hadn't come out to my grandmother yet, I knew that she was accepting because of the things that she had said around me, which I knew in hindsight were her way of hinting to me that she knew and that she'd be safe. So I knew I could move in with her if I needed to. I knew I could move in with my boyfriend at that time and his mom if I needed to. And then that first gay friend, I knew that I could live at his place for a couple months if I needed to while I found a place of my own. But my parents ended up, like not kicking me out, but they did want me to go to conversion therapy. Have you ever been to conversion therapy?
No.
We talked about the research, right? So I had come like with a mental clipboard of like, here are all the things that are going to happen. So I came into that conversation with my parents expecting that if I come out to them, they're going to want to bring me to conversion therapy, which they did. And I said, I will agree to go to one session. If I like it, we can continue. If I do not, I will not be going back. But I will try it for your sake, Mom and Dad.
But were you trying it like just as a like, I'll placate you, I'll humor you? Or were you trying it in a like, well, maybe it'll work kind of way?
I'm trying to put myself back in the mental state that I was in at that time.
Well, okay, so my follow-up question is, why didn't you just say, fuck no, fuck off?
Recovering people pleaser is why.
Okay, oh yeah. You talked about that earlier, yeah.
I think that's the main reason. Maybe there was a small part of me that also felt a little bit like, well, there's always a chance it could be not terrible. But I think the majority of me just felt like, go for their sake. And I was right. It was stupid. The guy was...
You went?
Yeah. He was clearly a closeted gay man that was trying to convince others to be straight in order to convince himself that he could be straight. The session was a giant waste of my time. And when we left, my mom, like, sniffling, is like, what'd you think of that? And I was like, that was awful. I'm not going back.
Wait. So your mum was in the session with you?
Both of my parents were in the session for about half of it. And then the other half, he had me on just one-on-one. I remember feeling uncomfortable with him too. I was like, he feels like maybe I don't want my parents to leave the room.
Well, and I mean, I'm assuming it was just like an introductory thing then. Like, you didn't go into depth or anything. Like, what kind of questions was he asking?
Oh, God. I wish my memory was that good. I don't remember. I think it was basic questions like we gays ask each other. When did you know? What are you...
Age, sex, location.
Yeah, that kind of... Where do you live? When are you usually available? Yeah, it was very weird.
Wow. Well, I mean, you could cross it off your list of things you've done in your life. So there's that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to have that on my list crossed off.
There you go.
So,
that is a perspective. We'll go with that.
Okay, so let's go back about 20 minutes in our conversation and talk about DC.
Yeah, it's Washington, DC.
Annapolis was a city, but it still was a bit stifling and a bit small, and you needed to get away and you needed to get somewhere else. Yeah. And that somewhere else was DC.
Yeah.
Do you remember... like the first days of being there and being this independent, free woman?
Absolutely. She was living her best life. While I was out at the time, I did not assume that people knew, which is so silly because I was so flamboyant. Still am. Like, girl, how did you not know that other people knew? I think I also was afraid it would affect my job. If people knew, it didn't. They all knew. They didn't care. And I would dress like a total fag to work because
You wore crop tops to work?
I didn't wear crop tops. I did wear some booty shorts sometimes. I wore like these high top pink socks I still have and love. I dressed a little more professional during the weekdays, but I had a shift that was like Tuesday through Saturday. So on Saturdays, I would come in like a slut. And it didn't matter because it was like a skeleton team on the weekend. It would be like me and two of my coworkers answering phone calls and doing troubleshooting stuff on the network.
Well, yeah, but they still don't want to see you in a jockstrap.
No, he didn't. Maybe they did. Some of them did. But then I would go out and go to town after work.
Ah. So you'd come into work with the outfit that you were going to wear that evening.
Yep, all prepped and ready to go.
So this is telling me a lot then. So you dress up sluttily to go out.
Yes.
Is there anything I'm to assume from this wardrobe?
Imagine the like tight spray-on pants. Very.
Oh yes, but I think my question is more like, are you out on the pole?
Like a go-go dancer or something?
Oh, I think that might be I think that might be a British phrase that you don't understand. Like, were you going out in order to hook up?
Sometimes, yeah. I was at least going out to make out. If I wasn't gonna fuck later, I at least wanted to like make out with some boys hot and sweaty at the club.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the dance floor, making out, and then being like, "Oh, I think my friends are looking for me. I've got to go by," and just leaving. Yeah. Oh.
I also was like a huge romantic, so I was always looking for my man.
Is this where the people pleasing comes in again?
Maybe. I think that's not so much to do with the people pleasing, so much to do with I was looking for other people's validation to find validation in myself. So I think the people pleasing is like a symptom of it, right?
Yeah.
Like looking for someone else to complete me was another big symptom of the lack of self-worth that I had.
Oh, it's so great that lack of self-worth manifests in so many different ways, isn't it?
Right? You can always find a new flavor.
Always some way of alienating yourself from everyone around you. Yeah.
What are some of your flavors? I'm curious.
Well, so I'm not a people pleaser, I don't think. I mean, everyone has shades of this, right? So sometimes I will be, but I don't think on the whole I am a people pleaser. Definitely I had that experience of being like, right, tonight is the night that I am going to meet someone, fall in love, and then that's it.
Right.
That'll be my life sorted. I'll have it all figured out from here on out. Sunday morning and the rest of my life, it'll be brilliant.
Definitely.
Anyway, okay, so you dressed sluttily to get to town. Tell me about town. And do you remember the first time you ever went there?
Yes. The first time I ever went there, it was before I was out. I was with that first boyfriend that I've mentioned before and my first gay friend. And I was so scared because I had heard that there was like some level of nudity at the club, and that was very scandalous. And they had certain nights where you could be 18 and up and get into the club. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I would have hated being like, as an adult now, I do not want to go out and have 18-year-olds in my space. Like, love y'all. I'm glad there was a night for that. And I'm also...
Oh, but so that 18 and up night, they would actually be people who like were over 21.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just that very narrow age bracket and no one else would bother going.
No, they would allow 18 and anyone older into the club. Then we had to have X's on our hands with Sharpie so that if we tried to order something at the bar, it would show that we were not 21.
Well, that doesn't make sense. You can just like rub it off.
And I did.
Oh, okay.
And then the 21-year-olds would get bracelets, like the cheap papery bracelets that you get.
Oh, yeah.
And so I learned from a friend that you could rip it off, the person that got it, use chewing gum to stick it back together on my wrist. And then he would go to the front and be like, oh my God, I lost my band. It like ripped off. Can I get a new one? And then he would show his ID and he would get a new one. So that was like later. That's years later. I was like 19 or 20 at that time. But back to being 18 and going to town. First time I'm there with my boyfriend and my first gay friend. And there was a drag show when we walked in. And it was my first time seeing drag queens in person. And I remember feeling both... I think at the time I probably primarily felt uncomfortable, being in such a hyper-sexualized space was very unusual to me. And not having any concept of how to have boundaries, thank you, Christianity, I also like...
Oh,
I think,
why has Christianity got to do with that?
I mean, in the way that we were taught, God was like basically responsible for everything. There was no personal responsibility or personal agency.
Okay.
And so, it's also that concept of like, oh, well, if you go there, then you deserved it. So, I had none of the concepts of like respecting my body or other people's bodies. So I think I feared that other people would be like predatory towards me, and they weren't. It was totally fine. It was a very fun night. And so I go in kind of nervous, watch like the tail end of the drag show, and then the dancing starts, and I was like, what is this? I had never been to like a club like that before, and it was mind-blowing. I loved it so much. I was hooked. Yeah, it was a pretty special night. And then I got a speeding ticket in my parents' car on my way home from a traffic camera. And I told my brother about it. I was like, you have to help me look out for this. There's like a traffic ticket that's going to come, and you have to help me watch the mail and like find this. And we never did. So either it didn't come or my parents just paid it. I don't really know.
Oh, interesting. Well, so, but you knew it was coming because you saw like a flashing light or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's so scary.
Right?
And like, what if your parents took away your like rights to use their car because you got this one speed? Yeah, no, I don't
Right.
even want to think
Also,
about
what
it.
if they asked me, why were you in DC on that road at that time of night?
Oh yeah, there's that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What lie had you prepared?
I don't think I had a lie prepared because I was so terrified of... I also was an extremely honest kid. The times that I lied were almost exclusively around hiding my sexuality. So I'm sure I probably would have been okay lying to cover it up and keep myself safe, but I don't remember if I came up with a story. I think I was just so certain that we could be vigilant and get it out of the mail and pay it before they saw it that I was hoping not to have to invent some story.
Oh no, you need to be more prepared than that. You need to have a lie. You need to have rehearsed it. You need to be ready for any type of questioning. God, have you never been a son before?
I guess not. You'll have to give me some good lying tips after this.
It's not a lie if you believe it. That's my one tip.
There are a lot of liars that I think really, really love that tip. They are definitely believing that.
Well, okay. And so why then was Town the lost space that you wanted to talk about?
Town was incredible. It was 2 floors. The bottom floor had,
Okay. But why was it important to you?
It was my first gay club. It was the space that I, over the course of a few years of attending the club, it became like my little space that I knew that this place was there. If I was there, I could be totally myself. I have fun memories of like hot guys hooking up with them in the bathroom, and it was a lot of firsts for me. So, and now it's gone.
That Alex that first went there, that went with the boyfriend that he had at the time before he dumped him and then embraced celibacy and recorded a video and shared it with the world, and his best friend. That one. What do you admire most about him?
That's a really great question. I admire that he was willing to challenge his beliefs and fears. It could have been really easy to not explore anything while I was in the closet. Or even after coming out of the closet, it could have been easier or seemed safer to just not be in gay spaces at all until I finally embraced my sexuality years later. But Yeah, I think that's what I admire most about him: his willingness to step out of his comfort zone and explore, even though it seems scary.
There's something so brave about queer kids that do that. Like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to go, sometimes even just like going on your own to a club when you've never ever been to a club, summoning somehow the courage to go through the door and exist. I'm just so in awe of humans that do that.
Did you do that when you were young?
Yeah. I did that. Like, I did it myself. But like now, when I think back, it's just like, how? Like, how are you that brave to just be like, yeah, I'm going to do it?
Yeah.
And maybe it was like desperation more than anything else that was driving me. But I can't imagine doing it now. Or maybe I can. I don't know. I still think it's to be commended.
Definitely. I think as we get older, the fears settle in a lot more. Like a lot of closeted gays that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like the older they are when they're still in the closet, the harder it is to come out.
Oh, yeah. I cannot imagine how difficult that is. Like, I had really not very much to lose when I came out. And everyone was just like, oh, okay, what should we have for lunch? And maybe it would be the same for people that are in the closet. Maybe everyone's just waiting for them to come out. But when you think about the layers upon layers of this tightly crafted world. I'm using really flowery language today. I'm sorry. I'm just like listening to myself like, what the hell am I going on about? But anyway, this like tightly crafted world, and then to live that life for so long, it's that sunk cost fallacy thing, isn't it? Like, you've invested so much, like how can you just turn away from that?
Yeah. Yeah, you nailed it.
So anyway, if there's anyone out there who's closeted and been in the closet for 40 years, I hope that that's given you the hope.
Yeah. We love you. Come out with us.
If that is you, then, I understand how difficult it is. But do think about maybe taking a step out if you can, if it's safe for you.
Yeah. And we're going to be here to embrace you.
But we are?
Yeah, I will happily embrace a newly out gay. Anyone that's queer that's like, okay, here I am stepping out of the closet. Like, come on, baby, let's go.
Okay, well, Alex's email will be shared in the show notes for this episode.
There you go. Part of it is what I literally do for work. So, yeah.
So, town is no more, as you said. Town is closed down. Yeah. Why don't we think more about Alex at 18?
Okay.
So I want you to imagine that you're able to give Alex some advice.
Okay.
What would you say to him?
I would tell him to keep exploring, and I would let him know, hey, like, here's who I am now. There is going to be a day that you are going to be looking at yourself and thinking, I am fucking amazing. It's really cool to be me. And until then, like, keep doing what you're doing and keep just exploring yourself with curiosity.
And go easy on the accelerator on the way home.
Yes. Yeah, follow the speed limit when you're trying to hide going to the gay club, especially. Follow the speed limit.
And roles reversed now. So he's gotten over the fact that you've time traveled and that there's this older version of him in front of him. What advice would he give you in return?
I think the biggest advice, I'm not sure if it's necessarily advice, but the admiration that he would have for who I am and how I live my life now.
Why are you so sure about that?
Because, like, he absolutely would. I don't think it would take him a while to believe it, that I could be creating porn, that I could be, like, a sex educator, that I could be helping not only feel confident myself, but helping other people feel confident and stand up for themselves, like that would blow his mind. He would think I'm probably like the coolest person ever. And I think his admiration would give me a lot of motivation to stick in there when I doubt myself, or when I feel like exhausted, or like I've hit a new level of I can't possibly, do this next thing in front of me. Yeah.
Aww.
Thank you for that question. I'm going to be like keeping that with me.
And I think that's us for another week. So I will leave you there. Actually, before you go, if you want to find out more about Alex, I will make sure to include information about all his web doodah. Oh God, I'm sounding older and older by the day. I will make sure that I share his website, which is first of all Alex Gay, and that's Alex with 3 X's, .univer.se. So that's universe with a dot before the S and the E. And that has links to all of his like Instagram and OnlyFans, and you can find out more about coaching and all of that goodness. But obviously use discretion when you're in public, if you're in public. I don't know why I feel the need to tell you that, but I do. So there you go. And whilst you're at it, go and find me on TikTok or Instagram at Lost Spaces Pod, where I share clips and videos from episodes. Maybe this episode, maybe you'll stumble upon it when you go to see stuff. Okay, I think maybe I need to go and get some fresh air. My name's Kay Anderson. Thank you so much for joining us again this week, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.